The T-110E3 is an American Tier 10 tech tree tank destroyer, and at update 9.1, this vehicle received a 40 alpha increase from its base 640 alpha, now sitting at 680. Now, in some ways, the E3 got better. Due to the fact that it is a frontline, almost heavy tank, the alpha is great in the fact that you can hit harder and expose your tank less. It's also a big downside, though, because while it gained alpha, it lost damage per minute and accuracy, which, in my opinion, is actually more of kind of a nerf. Like, I'm all for alpha. As many of you know, I love damage per shot. But after playing this vehicle, its reload just seems so incredibly long compared to what the previous E3 was. It lost about 150 damage per minute, meaning that you're actually sitting at around 2650 DPM. That's about the same average DPM you'd find on a tier 10 heavy tank. A vehicle like the 5A actually has more DPM, which definitely causes some problems when you're trying to fight other heavies that have the ability to out-reload you and have more hit points than you. So the E3 definitely has situations where I feel like with the newer gun, it feels a little bit worse. But I've also had moments where the alpha feels great and you're able to hit somebody for a 1020 high explosive shell, which definitely is pretty insane. So what I'll say is that I personally think the E3 previously was better, down to the fact that you definitely could get away with a little bit more. Not only did you have more DPM, which meant you could frontline a bit more aggressively, but also down to the fact that the tank's accuracy was a bit better, meaning that when you turn this tank, you can shoot a bit better on the move. But at the same time, at least the E3 did gain alpha, and it wasn't just a flat nerf, because as we know, alpha can be key, and rolling somebody for average of 610 can be absolutely amazing. The biggest buff I would like to see done to the E3 is a reverse speed and power to weight buff. Take away its super speed boost and give it a power to weight of, I don't know, 15 or 14. Right now, the E3's effective power to weight is 8. Yes, 8. You heard that right. Just to put an example, the effective power to weight ratio of an IS-7 is like 18. So if you didn't know, the E3 actually has the worst power to weight in tier 10. And that's why you're going to notice here, once my super speed boost wears off, even on flat ground, this tank struggles to stay at its top speed above 30 kilometers per hour. So if you're going up any hills or really anything that's got slight incline, the E3 just slows down so quickly. The other problem with the E3 is that its reverse speed is awful. It has a reverse speed of 10, which means that if anything gets in front of you and you don't have your super speed boost back, you're basically done for. That is a big problem I have with the tank because, yeah, it definitely feels like you get stuck in situations that you want to get out of and you just can't. Although our 4005 is truly an amazing player, as you can see. Gotta love tier 10 teams. They truly show their skill. Alright, let's aim it on this E3. Now, it looks like I can't hit him, but we can hit the standard B for a whopping 1,170 damage. That there is complete evidence of why increased HE alpha is pretty insane, and we were able to make good use of it there on poorly that standard B. So we are going to capture base A, and now I'm going to move on up. We are going to hopefully get a shell into the enemy T-110E3, but I guess we're going to find out. Most of my team is behind me, which is good, because I'm going to get some cover. And now I'm going to push down the hill, and oh boy, I got to climb up this hill. Speed! Okay, we also got the AMX 5120. Let's aim in a shell on him. And we bounced. Okay, then. I can't even blame the dispersion on that. That is just really bad luck. I don't even know what to say. Alright, well, let's reload again. 3 more seconds left, and we should have another shell ready for the opponent. So, right now, we're going to aim it on this E3, and let's see if I can shoot it right into his weak spot. There you go. Nice. Bit of a low roll, but we were still able to penetrate the E3. That right there is why I run calibrated shells on my tank destroyers to guarantee shells like we did on that E3 to be penetrations instead of a 50-50. So the Leopard, I'm not sure if the Leopard is poking off to the side, but honestly, not the biggest of problems for me right now. Oh, there is the Leopard, and I also know the AMX was somewhere around here, and the, well, the Leopard's gonna poke, aiming, and fire. Oh, really? 1,010 average damage and it rolls 910? That's lower than your average 150 roll. But to be fair, we've still done a pretty decent job this game, and all that's left I would like to shoot at is the enemy E100 up on the hill with 2,400 hit points. So let's aim at an HE shell on the E3. There you go, nice tap, and now let's start making our way into the front line. Maybe we can get a shell into the E100 E100, you can see that, oh man, the power to weight on this tank just really feels poor. So there's the E100 though, and we're going to aim in on his vehicle. Aiming, still aiming, and I'm going to wait for him to get detected, honestly. Might as well. There you go. Okay. Aiming again. And fire. Nice. 696 roll into his vehicle. And with that, we're up to 3,400 damage dealt. This is a situation where you can see the E3 being pretty nice. We were able to get some HE shells out. We were able to absolutely roll the enemy opponents. And now what we're going to do is aim in on the C100, get another nice tap, and there you go. Another roll of 700, rolling 715. But at the same time, the other gun would have given us more DPM, so it's possible we could have dealt more damage in the game. Either way, this was a pretty good battle overall to showcase the E3 with the Alpha. We incredibly rolled a massive number onto that enemy standard B, and yeah, I mean, we did a pretty solid job. Don't get me wrong at all. I don't think this tank is bad, and I do think the Alpha has situations where it's really nice and it can be better, like when I HE that standard B. But I just see for me and the playstyle of the E3, it's kind of worse having less DPM for a tank that really needs that DPM to stay frontline for so long. Now, that game was live, but now we're going to go to a replay. This game was pretty solid. I wanted to do one live game and then one replay because this replay was really good to showcase the new E3. So, the enemy team, what do they got? They got an IS-7, a T-57 Heavy, and an IS-8 for heavies. When it comes to tank destroyers, they got an E4, a Conway, and a 2-1, or not a 2-1-5B. They got a 183, which is a pretty scary tank. And then, yeah, that's really about it. So, not too much for me to be scared about, apart from tank destroyers. When you're in a TD, especially a frontline one, if you get shot for 640, that's literally a third of your health. And you don't want to lose a third of your health. That's really, really bad news for a vehicle like this. So instead, I'm going to stay a little bit cautious at the beginning of this game. The enemy 57 Heavy plays kind of like a doofus, drives out in the open, and bleeds 670 health. I don't know what his plan was, why he did that, but I'll take it. It's an extra 670 damage on my pallet. So now we've got the E4 in front. Can't shoot him. And we bounced a shell for 600, which would definitely be the Conway running the 15-inch gun. We got the IS-8 in front of us, which is a pretty easy shell. And look at that roll, 785. This is where the increased alpha feels great, because you can very easily shoot enemy opponents with that alpha. Now, unfortunately, the 183 is able to splash us for 500 damage, which is literally a third of my hit point pool with just a splash, which is pretty insane. But we're going to get a nice shell into that E4. Bit of a low roll at 597. Not a bit, that's a huge low roll. But we're up to 2,000 damage dealt already, which is a pretty nice chunk for this game, only firing 3 shells. So, we got the IS-7 in front of us, and, what do we want to do? Well, I was going to shoot at that Conway, but the Conway's already dead, so there's really no point. I can't get a shell into the IS-7 because the guy's hiding behind a rock, and in this battle, it wasn't off to a great start. Our team had basically died, and yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do here, because I know I can't drive in. They still got the 183 in the back, and they got a lot of other alpha heavy tanks. But I'm going to aim it on this IS-7. Another low roll, but I'll take it because we did get a bounce from the IS-7 in return, so any pen where I don't receive any damage back is great. But now the 183 just cleared our 121, which means we're down a medium even though we had a medium advantage. That's pretty bad news. Now I'm going to aim it on this IS-7. Nice premium shell into his track wheel for 588, breaking us the 3,000 damage barrier. But, yeah, we're down on base capture. Our team is getting absolutely just murdered on the other side of the map. And this is the problem where the mobility is kind of poor, is that you really can't push in. Like, I know if I push in with the E3, I'm going to be stuck, and you're going to actually watch that happen later. So in this game, it's just kind of like sit and watch. Now, we do get a nice clear onto that 57 Heavy, and normally I might be a little worried about it low rolling, but when it comes to 680 Alpha, it's almost impossible to low roll at 530. But now is where I have to push in. I see all the enemy team off to the side. I see the IS-7 in the front, and I'm like, okay, I got really no choice. I got to pen this IS-7 once, so I aim it on the lower plate. There you go. Nice shot, 675, making the guy a one-shot, even if I fire APCR, with quite a nice chance of not low-rolling it. So we got the E4 off to my side. I know he can't shoot me as long as I poke this correctly, and the E4 just fired. So I know I've got the clear to clear this IS-7, so we aim in, and fire. Nice. This is, again, why I run Cali, to confirm shots like that hitting. We're up to 5,000 damage dealt at this point. The problem is that I got an IS-8 and an E4 off to the other side of my vehicle. Now, thankfully, there's a crater, so that the E4 can't get to me unless he drives to my vehicle. And because my average damage is basically the same hit points he has, This is actually not an awful situation for me, but it's still pretty bad. I mean, this is one of the worst situations you could definitely get. So I'm going to aim in on the C4, and there you go. Nice pen, 654. Unfortunate that it low rolled and didn't high roll, but at least we were still able to pen him. Now, the problem is that the E4 got a DPM buff, and I got a DPM nerf. So this E4, in reality, beats me, and he should have. He definitely messed up his HE, because you'll notice he actually fired an HE shell and didn't do any damage. But yeah, the E4 definitely beats us in that situation on DPM. But either way, in this game, we were able to come out with a victory. It was a very tricky game, especially in that late situation there, but in total, we broke over 6,000 damage and was able to block 3,000 damage. But I have to say, if I had the DPM, it would have definitely been more enjoyable. I don't know why they didn't just buff the alpha, make the dispersion a bit worse, and give it the DPM that it currently had previously, because it wouldn't have made much of a difference. The problem now is that you gained this alpha, which made your reload worse, and then you also gained a worse reload in general, so it's just kind of a flat nerf. But either way, I still think the E3 is a strong tank. It still has the same strengths it previously had, which was being able to frontline is just its strong suit. It really does bad when it gets pushed out of position, and yeah, that's where the reverse speed I would really like to see come in play. Unfortunately, I don't think Wargaming will ever give this tank mobility, even though the 268 version 4 can go 42 forwards and 20 in reverse. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you'd like to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below. And other than that, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Let me know what you think about this tank in the comments down below. Bye-bye!